What's good, man? What's good? 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 What is good? All right, look. You could argue that being a speculator in the market is like the most important role in society, bro. Because you're like pricing in truth, right? And if the market is wrong, like the best way to figure out what is actually happening in the world is what does the market say, right? And so it's being a speculator is actually one of the most essential jobs in the world. It's an essential worker, like to society. Without like Thicky said this thing. He was like, I'm just gonna repurpose like 100 Thicky takes today. Hear me out. It's like imagine if you didn't have internet access and you were just living in the world day to day. You didn't have internet access. You couldn't see markets. You weren't reading Twitter. You weren't reading social media. Like, how long would it take you to figure out a tangible shift in like culture, like the world's changed? You'd probably be like 3 years too late. Like COVID would have hit you like pretty quick for sure. But how long would it take to know like we're like in a recession? It would like take a year probably. You would have no idea it's happening if you just like go about your day. And so we had the fucking expression nailed, but man, these order books are no joke. Whatever. It is what it is. But a lot's happened in the last 24 hours. I feel like I've learned a lot in the last fucking 3 weeks. By the way, Miami, Ohio yesterday, movie. I have a balance I've assigned myself of what I'm willing to fucking lose betting on sports. And it's the one time a year where it's okay to bet on sports. And I'm going to fucking gamble my dick off over the next couple weeks on every game. I bet Ohio State lost at the buzzer. I bet Troy lost by 30. I bet Miami, Ohio. That was a movie. That was a fun one. I have USF getting blown out. I just bet upsets only. I went to VCU, so I hammered VCU hard. And then I bet BYU pretty hard. And then I'm going to bet St. John's all the way because they're so fun. And I'm going to bet, I don't know, whoever else. But Miami, Ohio yesterday. First win since 1999 in the tournament. I mean, come on. You gotta love March. Imagine trying to make a free throw behind this. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, dog. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Shout out to Miami, Ohio. Shout out to fucking Poly Market. I cooked on it. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a while since I made money on a sports bet. Yeah, Duke is losing. Update me if the game gets really close. But all right, we have a lot to talk about. I want to get into the stream. We have Netanyahu just did his first speak appearance. He's alive. Trump had some crazy appearances. I have some really good writings, some really good articles. Market's about to close in 3 minutes. We'll look at the market. We'll get into it. And then I'm going to just fucking complain for 3 hours. All right, market just closed. Let's go over it, and then we'll get into topics. You know the routine. I like this routine, by the way, starting with market close. And one of the just most miraculous turnarounds I've ever seen. SPY closes only down 0.25% today is just unreal. Just unreal that this closed down only 0.25%. Q's down 0.3. And software ETF, IGV flat, nuts. Russell up 1%. People are fucking gambling. The Dow, just the worst chart ever. Pam Bondi. Crude down 0.3%. What do we got here? Hims up 5. Circle finally a red day. Not a lot of stuff we care about. Yeah, IGV, whatever. Let's go to the big names. Nvidia down 1%. Adobe flat. SanDisk up 2.4. It's been ripping. Dude, I've been so bullish on Max Long. We'll talk about it. What else we got? Apple down 0.5. Netflix down 3. Who was talking about Netflix today in the chat? Spicy Meatball, you're long this? Looks terrible. Microsoft down 1. Oracle up 2. Micron down 4. Meta down 1.5. Amazon down 0.5. Tesla down 3. That's mostly where we are at today. And then crypto and metals. Bitcoin, decent. It got this kind of like fake relief bounce on, I guess, the Netanyahu. I guess on the Netanyahu convo. I didn't watch it. We'll go over it. Gold down 3.5, crushed. ETH down 3, Zcash down 5. The dollar, DXY down 1%. Sol actually relatively strong. Silver down 3.5. Hype down 5.5. Was the hype outperformance just that SPY announcement? Maybe. And then the VIX is down to 24.40, and it is down 2.7% on the day. And then last but not least, Brent oil currently 103.08. And then crude, which they've updated to WTI, is at 94.5. I'm going to just spend like a lot of time. I want to just like game theory out the rest of our life today is what I want to do. I want to just like go over what could happen from here. I'm not going to waste a lot of time today. Like let's just like get to it. I actually have a lot of takes today. I've learned a lot. The market is really bad at pricing in like second order effects, like thinking ahead. Like I wish I could go back to COVID and like buy like Zoom or like Peloton, you know? It's like, yeah, obviously. This is like new in my arsenal, but it's great that it's new. It's great that we think about this now because it obviously has big impacts and implications on how the market works. It's just like, okay, similar to how when I was closing the oil long, because I'm like, there's just so many like fragile aspects at play here that could go wrong and that could fuck me. The stock market, I feel like, is propped up on so much fragile nuances that could just go. And most of it being this like AI capex, right? Like, can these companies sustain these like gargantuan rounds and spend and somehow figure out how to increase it and increase revenue and just keep going up? At the same time that we're approaching OpenAI wants to IPO, SpaceX wants to IPO, these like massive liquidity suck events. And I feel like everyone's been looking for like a reason. Like everyone, I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of the smart people on my timeline have been bearish and looking for a reason to just everything to just mull over. And there hasn't really like been a reason. But then you introduce war into the mix. And then all of a sudden, a lot of these fragile ideas are like at jeopardy, right? One of them, like a second order effect I wasn't even thinking about is like, okay, stocks are propped up on AI, specifically is AI capex build out and spend that has to keep getting higher and higher. A huge percentage of it, like half, 30%, 20%, even 5% is from like the Saudis in the Middle East, these GCC countries, which have been like drawn into this war from the US and like Israel attacking Iran, and then oil spend gets squeezed, war conflict drags out longer. What is their appetite for energy? AI, exactly. AI energy costs go up. And then what is their appetite to like continue to fund these crazy rounds? Because it's like they're all in the US. Part of the deal is protection. And we're now like in this war, like, you know what I mean? We're like now in this war. I don't know. I just like spend so much time thinking about 24/7 crypto prices exclusively. And I think there's just like way better uses of our time. Like even 95.5 is objectively a better spend than 100.0, right? Yeah, it's like the bundle is unraveling, but it's like geopolitics. It's like NATO and the GCC. It's like world powers. But yeah, I don't know. Like I've like spent so much time thinking about crypto 24/7 exclusively, only crypto, and I like the way this is going. This played first just to set the tone.
Too much, you know. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay.
It's Prime Minister of Japan, by the way. She's like, what? She says.
Right?
Yeah. She can't believe what she just heard. Trump does this. W Luke chat. Trump does this, and then Netanyahu just does a speech. He says a couple things. He says Iran has no capacity to enrich uranium or make ballistic missiles after 20 days of war. So number one is like Iran's beat down. Second thing he says is there are many possibilities for a ground component. I won't share what they are. Third thing he says is need alternative routes that avoid Hormuz and Red Sea choke points. Can't do a revolution from the air. So look, you're Trump saying there won't be ground troops, and then Netanyahu comes out and says can't do a revolution from the air. There needs to be a ground component as well. Just headline slop, a lot of headline slop. And so I want to go over Polymarket, and then I'm about to whip out the fucking Microsoft Paint. by December 31st is the latest date we have on here, basically flat. And boots on the ground is down a little bit, right? Like it got as high as 70%. And so I want to just like, okay, I've just been like thinking in my head here, how this could end. And I want to just, I don't know, I want to just like game theory it out because I'm pretty like bearish on the war right now, guys. I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty like, not like radicalized about the war. I want to look at MS Paint real quick. Oil market is saying we're like basically done with the war. And it's like listening to Netanyahu comments, Trump comments. I kind of think there's like 3 scenarios. Every single one of these scenarios, except for the last one, leaves the United States of America fractured. You know, I like the Professor Jang analogy where he talks about the bully because, and he uses the US as the bully, right? The thing about the bully is that the bully doesn't actually want to fight. And so the bully needs to like be really scary and really intimidating so the bully doesn't have to get in a fight. Because if the bully gets into a fight and gets cracked in the jaw, and like if the bully gets into a fight and doesn't absolutely dominate, people start to feel like confident that they could win. And so the bully doesn't like every time the bully fights, it's an extreme or a gamble. Because even if you like, okay, say the bully fights and he fights like the nerd kid and he gets like cracked once, and people could even have the thought cross their mind that's like, oh wait, if I like got the jab in first, maybe we could take him down. That like belief hurts the social contract. Like you can think about this like I remember when running a 4-minute mile was like impossible. Like nobody could run a 4-minute mile. It was like impossible to do it. And the first person runs a 4-minute mile, and then all of a sudden after that, 5 years later, like 8th graders are running 4-minute miles. You could even compare it to March Madness, which is like no 16 seeded ever beat a 1. And then finally UVA goes down. And then all of a sudden it's like Purdue went down 2 years later. And so it feels a little bit like the US is in a spot that's like, if Trump doesn't go for the absolute jugular and just destroy Iran, every scenario out of this, you start to question like how much of US dominance and like stock market outperformance is built on military power and our ability to just like get anybody out of there at any moment. Like how much of the dollar's value is just like our military, right? Like it's a lot. And at least for like I was born in 2002. I was born after 9/11. I was not conscious at all when like Afghanistan and Iraq were happening. Like I was like 6 to like 8 to like 10 maybe max. And so this is like the first time that I've like been around and like paying attention, and the US is like at war, like actually at war. It's crazy how fast this happened. You've never actually seen it up close, right? So you always just like assume like I live in the US, I'm patriotic as fuck, I love my country, I say this all the time. You always just like assume that the US can snap their fingers and get anybody up out of there, right? But then we like get into a conflict and you see it start to drag and to start to play out and start to just very clearly go off script and against the way you maybe would have imagined it would have gone. And it's not China, it's Iran. And I know Iran isn't Venezuela, but Iran also isn't China. And you're kind of like, wait a minute, like what's going on here? Like it makes you really sit back and think about a lot of your beliefs and a lot of your assumptions, a lot of things you're taught in school. Like I don't know how many people here are like from the US versus not. But I've never once, even for a second, considered the idea, like up until relatively recently, considered the idea that the US dominance could actually be threatened. And so that was a really unarticulate, long-winded way of saying that the US going after Venezuela is not an aura gamble. It was like a show of force. The US going after Iran in the situation that we're in right now, again, I'm 3 weeks into geopolitics, but I'm terminally online, is a pretty extreme aura gamble. But this is like where we're at, is that it didn't work. And now we're sort of stuck in this spot where we have to like figure out a way for this to end at some point. And none of the options are very good. All right, let's go. Okay, option number 1 is like the best option for the United States and like the least likely, right? Which is like ceasefire. Okay? Which would be some agreement where like US stops attacking and like regime change. And then Iran would stop nuclear program, reopen Strait, and basically like submit to being USA bitch. This is what I would have had if I were to come into this with no context. This is what I would have like assumed would happen. Is this okay? That would have been my like base case assumption that yeah, we're so powerful. We come in, we blow shit up. You fucking listen. You're in so much pain. You're suffering so hard. I mean, look, to be fair, they have a choke point in the Strait of Hormuz, but they have no fucking internet. Iran is like getting, I can only imagine what the scene actually looks like there, right? Like, I know we're struggling more than we should be, but they're suffering, right? They're in pain, obviously. And they say, you guys are the US, you win. We will stop our nuclear program. We'll reopen the Strait and we will just like submit. Okay. In exchange, the US will stop attacking. This would be the best case scenario. This is probably what Trump thought would have happened. And to me, this is like 1% chance. I mean, it's like less than 1%. It's not even 1%. This can't happen. It's less than 1%. This can't happen. Like, there's no way this can happen to me. Less than 1%. Okay. And so it's the best option by far. But I'm of the belief that this is completely off the table. This can't happen. Option number 2, I think, is the most likely. And somewhere in the middle is Trump declares victory. This is option number 2. I think this is the most likely. Okay. And so what it would look like is USA stop attacking and Israel stop. Can they even do this? I'm not even sure that they can do this. Declare a win publicly to save market and probably agree to some sort of sanctions and or repercussions that may or may not be disclosed. The way things are going, it seems like Iran is willing to die, will go all the way and just hold on to the Strait. They don't have to do that much to keep the Strait closed, which is very clearly bringing us like turmoil and pain. And so probably pay Iran sanctions, because if they can keep it closed, it's not, if they can keep it closed, it's not clear to me that stop bombing would make us open the Strait. It's not clear to me that that is on the table. And so the offer would be like this: pay sanctions, probably. And then Iran open Strait, and probably, at least to me, like what it would take for this to be a fair agreement for them. Like if I'm Iran, keep nuclear. Because like, okay, if there's no scenario in which they would agree to option 1, which is just like a pure ceasefire, that means there's something they're not willing to give up. Okay? And the something that they're not willing to give up is probably the nuclear. Because if you're Iran, like I've thought about this for a while now, the last couple of days. Like, what would I do if I was Trump? And what would I do? I know what I would do if I was both. I think I know what I would do if I was both. What would I do if I was Trump? And what would I do if I was whoever is running Iran? If whoever's running Iran, it's like, okay, there's basically no reason for you to agree to option 1, because you've shown an ability to keep this thing closed and that you have a choke point over the US. Okay. And so you're not going to just agree like open for stop bombing. It doesn't make any sense, because the US and like Israel have basically shown you that at every occasion when we're negotiating and or if we have a deal on the table, we will just break the contract and like blow you up. And so you're suffering now, but you'll suffer later anyways. And so you know that if you get a nuclear weapon, suffering like stops. Notice how North Korea is not suffering because you can't fucking do shit. They have a nuclear weapon. And so in my like very like surface level understanding is that Iran can control the strait very easily, which is like a choke point for the world. And it's a pure like geography like loophole that they just have this thing, they have an ability to control it. It's shaped perfectly. Like they have this choke point, this pressure point in the strait, and they have this goal of like get nuclear weapons. And if they can control the strait or leverage the strait long enough to get to a nuclear weapon, the pain stops. And so you basically like you're suffering already. So you might as well like in theory, if you could fend off the US or keep this thing going for long enough while controlling the strait and then eventually get to a nuclear weapon, you just like take that route. And so there's no reason for them to just do like a pure ceasefire, right? Why would you do that? And so the other option is like, fine, you'll open the strait back up and stop an energy crisis in the United States of America, which is it feels like we're edging to, by the way. Like it feels like we're edging to that. And so you would prevent an energy crisis in the United States of America in exchange for them to stop bombing you, which you know is going to come again anyways, but you openly, publicly keep your like nuclear program and whatever's left of it. And you like build to this end goal, I would imagine, is like a nuclear weapon, right? Now, if you're the United States of America and you're Trump, this is your auto out, save markets, save face, print green candles on SPY and on, you know, make oil red, save an energy crisis, keep gas under fucking $30 a gallon. But this is really bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is a bad off ramp, because what this means is this means two things. Okay, this is bad for two reasons. One, the bully got bitched, and two, we have to go back. Okay. Number one is that we went after Iran and very publicly pulled out in this scenario, like in the declare victory. It was very clear what happened. They squeezed us on the straight. Oil price went up. Stocks went down. We got pretty quickly into a like, no pun intended, nuclear situation, and we had no choice but to pull out. Okay, it means the nerd stood up to the bully. He jabbed him in the fucking face, and the U.S. had no choice but to fucking even to do anything other than utterly dominate is a fracture on like the perfection that is the American empire, right? It fractures like world reserve currency on the dollar. It fractures our like military dominance. It fractures our fear. It's probably fucking makes China more likely to go after Taiwan. There's like big ricochet effects. The bully gets bitched in public. You took a huge aura gamble and you lost. And then the second problem is that we have to go back. Like, it's not done. It doesn't end. It's like, okay, cool. They opened the strait. They now have more power because they know they can fucking just at any moment, strait's closed. At any moment, strait's closed. Fuck you, straight's closed, and you can't do anything about it. So you've told them you can't stop this move. Number one, it's like when you're playing your homie in Smash and you like don't let him use this one character because he's such an OP move. And anytime you win like 3 games in a row, he's like, okay, cool, I'm playing as Steve from Minecraft again, and then he just like cooks you. That's what this is. That's what the straight becomes if we pull out. And so you admit that they have an OP move you can't stop. You probably end up paying some like export taxes, sanctions, whatever. And then the second is we probably have to go back, right? Anything other than a colossal wipeout, and they're leaving this with whatever is left of their nuclear capacity, and they're building that shit up. This scenario is short-term solve for long-term pain. And so, guys, I'm going to be honest, in my like game theory journaling, this feels like the most you got to put this at like 30%, right? Or maybe you probably want this to be higher than 30 because the next option is not good. This is what, 30, 40, 30 to 50%, 25 to 50? I don't know. 25 to 50% on this, I think. Why isn't America a threat if y'all got nukes? The problem with the nuke option is that it protects you, but it does nothing on the offensive. It's very similar to bringing a gun to a street fight, like a street brawl. It's like, okay, you have a gun, so nobody's going to come punch you, but you can't use the gun. If you have it, you're protected, as in we can't, like, if you're like if you're like David and you have a fucking AK, you have an automatic rifle, Goliath can't like run up on you and try to kill you because you'll just shoot him. But you also can't use the gun. And so it's this weird like prisoner's dilemma situation is that nobody can use a nuke until somebody uses a nuke and then it's all over. So you don't get to use a nuke. The longer, at least in my opinion, the longer the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, the more likely this outcome is, okay? And this is very, very bad. And so that leaves us with one more option. Option 3 is jugular. And this is probably the only scenario in which the US comes out of this looking better than we got into it. This is like USA. Option 3, full ground invasion into Iran, total wipeout, take the Strait by force. We win, you lose. Iran in this situation, honestly, can't do anything. Like, at least from what I understand, cannot do much. And so this to me is like the last option, bro. There's basically 3. I think there's 3 options. And the third one is Trump says, fuck it. I'm done with this shit. They're too powerful. They're too dangerous. We can't let them get a nuclear weapon. We're like dilly-dallying around taking control. And we're just going for it. And they go for the fucking jugular. Okay? And this to me is the only option in which, if it goes well, it's by the way, this is the ultimate or a gamble. Like, and it is also the only, in my opinion, it's the only way the US leaves like stronger. The problem is it's like the final or a gamble. If this goes well and you crush it, it's a real deal show of force. Like the US is a monster and this was worth it kind of outcome as possible. If it doesn't go well, it has the highest downside by far. It'll be the most unpopular war ever. Trump will be like considered a disgrace in the US. Like the whole thing will just be the downside of this one is like so bad. Bitcoin probably goes to many millions of dollars from this. Gold goes to many millions of dollars from this. Like I'm not even sure how you leave this war if it isn't like pure and utter dominance. I'm just gonna say, like, Polymarket has this at 66% chance. Basically. Not exactly. Like they don't have option 3 jugular at 66% chance. But they have ground invasion at 66% chance, which is like ridiculously high. Which to me feels like extremely high. Final option 4. Nuke. Can't happen. Sub 1%. It can't. Now I have this article in front of me today that I've been wanting to read. I didn't read it. And I think it's really good. This is the guy who wrote it. Macro Stoic. Summary. Here's a summary. Iran demands yuan payment for Hormuz passage. Reserve currency war, not just military. Important for the dollar. U.S. doesn't need to control the strait. It controls the sea. Playbook. Seize Iranian ships. Sell their oil in dollars. Flood Iran with Starlinks. Oil spike. Inflation. Fed can't ease. AI compute. Cost rise. Acceleration slows. Everything is the same trade. Take down a risk. Preserve capital. I think that's like the summary of like where we've gotten to. Like any war, it's probably going to play out in a lot of unexpected and unknowable ways. Pick your spots, manage your drawdowns, and try not to let the outcome be the final battle for your portfolio. I'm taking down risk and keeping my defensive positioning. If this tone makes you feel like you are over your skis, you probably are. Leave the heroics to the other guys. Source, A.B. Campbell, Campbell Ramble, March 18th, 2026. I like the framing of everything's the same trade. I think that's a really good take, that everything's the same trade. And so all the alpha is just figuring out like Ken Trump taco, right? I fully agree that being a hero right now just has pretty bad RR, right? Like I think he actually has good takes in this article, like really good takes. I like it a lot. Everything is the same trade right now. And if you feel like you're in over your skis, you probably are. You know, I made this tweet the other day and it was like about how if traders could articulate their job better, they would like get laid more or whatever. It was controversial, whatever. Somebody gave like a serious response. It was CL. And he was like, actually, like the reality situation is trading is really boring. It's really boring. And most of the time you're going to be sitting here doing nothing. And then eventually you're going to make a trade and then you're going to sit here and do nothing for a while. And that is actually what trading is. The actual like execution aspect is very infrequent. Like before oil, I didn't take a trade since Zcash, bro. I didn't take a single trade since Zcash. I traded Uniswap on the BlackRock news or whatever real quick. I traded Hype very briefly on that shit execution where it went to 37. Little chillers. And I traded oil. Oh, I traded Palantir and Tesla. I did. But my favorite bit in Reminiscent of a Stock Operator is how often the word "I was in Florida fishing" is referenced. Like basically he's home actively trading a massive bull market or right before a massive bear market, or he's in Florida fishing. The whole book is doing one of the two. Like he's in actual like figurative war in the order books, or he's fishing. That's it. Nothing else. And I've noticed like my best trades have been this. Wait a while, be terminally online. Okay, Rhino made this tweet the other day. I'm gonna read it too because I think it's important. Malcolm tweeted it for him. He deleted it. I wish he didn't delete it. But I think it's a good like, you know, like I'm gonna read this to you because I think it's a good tweet for like you to internalize, because I think there's people that are naturally gifted as a trader. Like there's naturally gifted traders, but that isn't everybody. And I don't think you have to be that to like make money in the markets. This was a tweet. The workout kind of does show that you could do fairly well if you're terminally online, even above some traders or people who identify as such. He's kind of nailed some shit without vague posting like your fave trading account. Fair play, no? He's so fucking online all the time, it works. I think you can really make up for it by being terminally online. You could actually make up for a lot by being terminally online. Like you could make up for a lot, dude, by just being on the internet all day. You could really make up for a lot because you get handed opportunities like the Zcash. You get handed spots. And that's why I think like with this stream, there will always be a lot of time in between us like clicking the button. We had this oil thing. That was really fun. You get a lot of viewers. You get a lot of dopamine. I love being in a I mean, you know me. I love being in a trade. I fucking love. There's nothing in the world I love more than being in a trade and like knowing I'm right and it hasn't played out. I love being in a trade. You know I love being in a trade, but the majority of the time I'm not. And so you have to fill that time with good inputs into your brain. Otherwise, it's just it's a mistake. Otherwise you get worse. You have to fill it with trash in, trash out, right? Like you got to fill it with good inputs. And the second I get off this stream, I feel like I take me to the box. The second I get off this stream and I check my email, there's going to be an email waiting for me there. And you know what the email is going to be? Chat. It's from my accountant. And in my accounting email, there's going to be a number. And in that number, it's going to say my yearly capital gains. And I'm not exactly sure what the number is going to be, but what I do know is that given the amount of money I made in 2025, I had objectively a good year in 2025. I'm not saying I'm fucking the GOAT, but like, all I'm saying is that based off my performance last year and how much money is in my checking account, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened. Okay, I don't know what happened. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know what happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's a ping pong table, Flood. I don't know what happened. I'm sitting here looking at these trades, and I'm like, he's like, you made this much on Trump? This is your wallet? I'm like, yeah, that's me. And he's like, you made this much on whatever token, eSIM? Yeah, that's me. You made this much on a uni long? Uni? Hold on. You longed Uniswap in 2025? And that's what you put out? Yeah, that's me. Yeah, whatever. Wait. I see you made money on Pump Fun, but it says it was through Hyperliquid. You trade perps? This is a perp trade? Yeah, it's a perp trade. Wait. Okay. We established you did whatever on perps, but Zcash on perps? In this size? In a bear market? Yeah, that's me. That's me. I'm going through. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. And he's like, you flew to Mexico every time you executed one of these trades? And I'm like, yeah. Of course I did. It's like, oh, that's why. That's what these tickets are. He's like, why'd you take 88 flights in 2025? I'm like, who you think's executing these fucking trades? And so we're going through these transactions. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. That is me. I did make that trade. Oh, that was a sick one. Oh, did you lose 100K on ZachXBT token? Yeah, okay, that was me too. And then I'm sitting here doing like mental math on the final number. And I pull up the Amex account and I'm like, ooh, man. I love you. I appreciate y'all. I'm out. Friday stream tomorrow. Basketball's on. I got shit to watch. I got shit to do.